The Exotic Wildlife Association presents today's outdoor hero.
Blame it on Texas. Don't blame it on me.
Broadcasting live and syndicated worldwide via the Westwood One XDS satellite platform. It's America's favorite blend of outdoors and commentary. This is Alan Warren Outdoors.
All right, one down, one to go on this Halloween weekend. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Alan Warren Outdoors Radio Show, where last hour we spoke with an outdoor hero from up in Minnesota, a man who fervently believes that, I guess, the key to Donald Trump winning the election lies in getting the Amish out to vote in Pennsylvania and Ohio and Virginia. And if you listen to his logic, I think he's got a pretty good point. I really do. All right, so a little over a week ago, or a week to go, until V-Day, Election Day 2016. I guess we'll know what direction we're going. Hey, later this hour, we're going to be joined by Mr. Charlie Seal of the Exotic Wildlife Association. For our new listeners, the EWA is the sponsor of this hour of the Alan Warren Outdoors Radio Show. And in this hour, we do our best to communicate the importance of conservation and stewardship of wildlife and habitat, and the absolute necessity for folks to become more involved in helping save threatened and endangered wildlife. And that is exactly what the EWA does. From its headquarters in the Texas Hill Country, the EWA has members all over the world. They really do. Folks that all share the same love for wildlife. And speaking of Texas Hill Country and the EWA, our outdoor hero this hour lives and works in what's known down here in Texas as God's country. I want to welcome to the show Mr. Lewis Scherer from the Flagler Ranch. Good morning, Lewis.
Good morning, sir. How y'all doing?
We're doing really good. I appreciate you getting up early and spending some time with us. Tell us a little bit about the Flagler Ranch, Lewis.
Well, the Flagler Ranch was purchased in 1992. And anyway, we...
y'all are a hunting ranch, right?
It's on here in 94. When the state of Texas allowed the wildlife exemption instead of, just the ag exemption. We got rid of all the cattle and everything, and in 2004, I took over the management part of it.
For someone who has never been to the area where y'all are, just around Hunt, Texas, describe what the geography looks like.
We're not rolling plains, but we've got a lot of up and down, and there's a lot of rock. As the old-timers like to say, the top of the mountain's pretty close to the top of the ground.
A lot of rock. That's an understatement. There's rocks everywhere. In fact, I've gone to FlaglerRanch.com and seen your website. You got a beautiful website and beautiful, beautiful wildlife. But I know that to have that wildlife, you can't rely on Mother Nature, because even when you get a lot of rain, those rocks aren't very good for the deer to eat.
No, they're not. And so we have initiated some management practices. And that's what we work on. Our animal per unit is how we do everything out here. And so we don't overgraze anything, don't overbrowse. And that's pretty unique out here, doing that with exotics instead of like cattle and sheep and goats.
Now, why did you introduce exotics? What is exotics? Why them instead of whitetail? I know you've got some beautiful, you sent me some trail cam pictures recently, some enormous whitetail deer, but why the introduction of the non-native species?
To better utilize the ranch, what the plant life and everything. Your deer only eat, they browse and all that. And it's just like with sheep and goats and cattle. Your cattle eat the grass and the sheep and goats eat the browse. Well, if you have deer, they eat the browse, and we needed something to eat grass and other things. It's better to utilize the ranch. Also, our income, it broadens our income from either hunting or selling them.
Well, I was going to say, because exotics, these non-native species that we talk about often, you're able to actually hunt them year-round. So when the landowner decided there at the Flagler Ranch that he didn't want cattle anymore, this was a way to substitute income and make more money in those months that weren't whitetail season.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Yep. All right. Tell us a little bit about what you do. I guess your job, Lewis, is driving around in a pickup truck all day and saying, "Yep, this is my place, and I get to look at all them animals." Sounds like the greatest job in the world.
Yes, and that's what a lot of people say. All I do is drive around and look at animals and fill feeders and check water troughs. Well, there's a little more to that.
Just a little bit.
Just a little more to that. But, number one thing I do first thing in the mornings, I go out and see the sunrise and get a feel for everything. And then I look for buzzards. And I want to know if something perished on the ranch. And then I got to be a detective and try to figure out how and why it perished. And if it's something I can correct, well, then management-wise or other, then I get after it and try to rectify that problem.
What is the hardest part of being a ranch manager, of doing what you do? I mean, I know you've got to be a jack of all trades. This time of year, you got to be a hunting guide, and I mean, what's the most challenging, difficult part for you?
Oh my, just everything above and dealing with people is a tremendous challenge. People now don't respect the land and the animals as much as they used to. And it's a real quick society. I want that animal, boom, let's get it done, and I'm gone. And to me, they don't take the time or want to do things right. And that's my biggest challenge.
Describe for me what people like that want to, where's the animal? I want to kill it and go home. What are they missing out on? I mean, I know it may be difficult to describe, but tell me some of that joy, that satisfaction.
Joy is, they're missing out on the interaction of the animals, watching how the animals play, for lack of a better word, out in their natural environment. They're losing the thrill of the chase. When I used to go up into Colorado, it'd take days and days of stalking and all that, and to try to get an animal, and sometimes you didn't. Here, today's hunter wants it and get it done. We're not set up that way. We don't drive around safari style. We don't do that. We pretty much walk and stalk, and you got to hustle for it. And I think people just miss out if they don't get out there in the woods and actually, see what they live in and all. I think they're missing out on a lot.
Folks, we're talking with Lewis Scherer. He is this hour's outdoor hero. He's a ranch manager up in the Texas Hill Country. He's also a member of the Exotic Wildlife Association, which we will touch on in our next segment. And as you can hear, he's pretty passionate about his connection with wildlife and with the land. Lewis, tell me a little bit about the philosophy of the owner of the ranch and how that affects your decisions and how you manage the ranch.
I am incredibly blessed to have the owner. We have the same goals in mind, and that is we want to make this the best ranch for our grandkids and future generations. And so he's turned me loose and able to get the diversity of the grasses back to where it used to be, the trees, the plant life, the animals. It's fantastic what he's allowed me to do. And he in turn has allowed us to get rid of prickly pear and mesquite and cedar and fire ants a couple of times. He really likes what my burning program is, and also one thing is youth hunting. He's real big into youth hunting, and so am I, and I think it's just incredible.
Now, this weekend is, today is the opening day of youth hunting season. For y'all, you probably have MLD permits, but the state of Texas recognizes that young people need that outdoor exposure, and they allow them to go hunting, get a jump start, a head start on the rest of us older guys. So
yes, sir.
That's a pretty cool deal. Y'all have a lot of youth hunters out there?
Yes, we do, and it's something we kind of promote.
What
And
about
the state of Texas actually recognized that and awarded us a nice award for that.
what's so cool for you folks who have dreamed about coming to Texas and maybe bringing your son or daughter, your family, get this. This is going to, it's going to set you back to bring your child on a deer hunt down to Texas for a hunting license. It's a whopping, get this, $7. So that's about as good a deal as you can get, isn't it?
Yes.
All right. Hey, Lewis, stick around. And, folks, y'all stay with us. We've got our outdoor hero of the hour on with us, Mr. Lewis Scherer from the Flagler Ranch. When we come back, I want to ask him, how did his deer get to be so doggone big? And I want to find out if they're acting frisky right now, because the acorns are falling, the boys are starting to be interested in the girls, and I want to hear about it. This is the Alan Warren Outdoors Radio Program. Y'all stick around. All right, folks. This is the Alan Warren Outdoors Radio Program, brought to you in part by the Exotic Wildlife Association. And we're speaking right now with this hour's outdoor hero. He's from, I guess the nearest town to you is a little town called Hunt, Texas. Mr. Lewis Scherer from the Flagler Ranch on this beautiful last Saturday in October. What's your white-tailed deer doing up there this morning, Lewis?
They are just starting the rut. We're starting to see darkened hawks and all that, and starting to single out, and they are thinking about love.
They sure are. Last week I said on the radio, literally a week ago right now, that what we really need to get these bucks moving, we need some cool, wet weather.
Yes.
We haven't had either, but nobody told the deer that. So
That's right. Nobody told the deer.
All right. Speaking of deer, I have seen some of the deer on your ranch, and they look like native deer, and they're absolutely stunningly beautiful. Tell me about your deer.
Well, thank you, and yes, they are. And what we've done is manage real hard. When I first started, there was a overpopulation of the whitetail, plus the top end, the good stuff, had all been harvested. So we took them down to one deer to like 50 acres, and then slowly brought them back.
Wow.
And we're very, very selective on that. So that's why we have some really nice deer. It's 2 years ago we raised a 210-inch deer, and that was awesome.
And that is a native Texas white-tailed deer. That's enormous.
Yes, sir. Native Texas for the hill country. Yes, I was pretty proud.
Well, you should be. And I know that Mother Nature has provided a lot this year, but you also use supplemental feed to, I guess, fill in the gaps when Mother Nature forgets to rain.
Yes. And again, back to the animal per unit, we try to keep one whitetail to 12 acres, and our exotics down, 1 to 10 right in there. So we don't hurt the ranch, and they can just graze. They really don't have to have supplemental feed, but it's just there if they want it.
How do you see, I know you get a lot of people out there because you've done weddings before, you do parties and things. How do people that from the city who have never been to a ranch before, what kinds of things do you hear them say after they come and visit with you down at the Flagler Ranch?
They're totally amazed at the grass, the trees, the animals. They're just totally amazed. Because most of our animals they're not tame, but they're not afraid, and they just graze by, or they'll get raise a tail and run off, but they won't run 500 yards. They'll just dance on out there and just go back to what they were doing.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. I call it therapy to watch wildlife. It's just there's nothing like it. I want to know, how did you get into ranch management, Lewis? What brought you into it? Were you raised on a ranch, or did you just have the yearning to get outdoors, or what? Yes,
I was raised on a ranch. I had a 1,500-acre backyard, and that was incredible. And the North Fork Guadalupe on the front yard. And I went to college and got a degree, and it took a while for me to get my dream job, but I got it now.
Well, it sounds like it. Tell me real quickly, how have you seen things change over the years in terms of wildlife and ranching, and what are some of the challenges that as a rancher you're dealing with now?
Well, that's an incredible question. The big change is the wildlife exemption. That really changed how people run ranches. Your lawyers and stuff can come out. They don't have to have cattle, and they just call it get an exemption on the wildlife. And they don't really manage it. They just have land and just let it go. I've seen more and more of that. And then, of course, animals are being animals. They overpopulate pretty quick, and then they're screaming, "What do I do? What do I do?" And that's one thing I'm seeing right there.
Yeah, our friend, our biologist, says that animals cannot add and subtract, but they can sure multiply, and they do it quickly.
Yeah.
Hey, tell me a little bit. I know that if, from your website, flaglerranch.com, and you click on the links, y'all are super involved in supporting groups like the Exotic Wildlife Association. Talk to me about the EWA and the importance of that as you see it, Lewis.
That is a fantastic organization, and how I got started with them when I took over the job. The colleges don't have anything for knowledge on raising exotics, so I went down there and just started hanging out and talking with people, getting more and more information on what to do with exotics. And so was a plethora of information. Everybody down there is eager to help you. And when I say everybody, I'm talking about the directors and members and all that. And since I started, they now have books out, and a lot more study has been done on exotics, so you can be more educated. But that was my initial introduction, was just trying to get knowledge on exotics.
And the work that the EWA does every single day, as I say, Charlie Seal, every day, I wouldn't do his job. Whatever he gets paid, in my view, he doesn't get paid enough to fight those people in Washington, and that he's having to fight with every single day to protect our property rights and to protect threatened and endangered wildlife.
Yes, very much so.
Yep. Well,
yes, my hat's off to him.
All right, well, real quickly, in less than a minute, are you even a hunter, Lewis? Do you hunt anymore, or you just enjoy watching them? That's
a great question. No, not really. I'm not a hunter anymore. I raise them and allow other people to do it. And for my relaxation, I now fish. It has transformed me from being a hunter now to conservationist. I always say that if you want to stop people from hunting, you put them on a piece of property and let them turn into a conservationist, and they just you still understand hunting and support it, but we just sort of change. Listen, Lewis, I got to jump, but I appreciate you getting up early this morning and being with us, and congratulations on being this hour's outdoor hero. Well, thank you, sir, and y'all have a wonderful day. All right, you take care. We'll talk again soon. Happy Halloween. All right, folks. This hour is brought to you by the Exotic Wildlife Association, who invites you. They invite you to become a member of their wonderful group of wildlife lovers like Lewis Scherer. I don't care where you live in our country, if you love wildlife, if you believe that the very future of many wildlife species will be dependent upon great people like Lewis that you just heard, and others that provide the land, the space, the habitat, the food, and the protection for their very existence. If you support this effort, you can become a member of the EWA today. Get this too. They have made a special free membership available for our listeners. If you go to their website right now and sign up, you'll get a free window decal, access to their gorgeous online magazine, invitations to some wonderful events, and what I like best are the email alerts that our friend Charlie Seal sends out on a regular basis. Again, join EWA for free right now. Go to myewa.org. Look for the membership tab at the top of the page, and you can scroll down and find the membership level you're interested in and fill out the information. myewa.org, myewa.org. It'll take just 1 minute to get your free membership right now. myewa.org. We will be back with more of Alan Warren Outdoors and try to catch up with Charlie Seal
right after this. Or you can call us. That's right. All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm Alan Warren. This is the Alan Warren Outdoors Radio Show, of course. And on the line with us is our friend from the Exotic Wildlife Association. We were talking about you a minute ago, Mr. Charlie Seal. How are you?
Well, I'm good. I'm great. Another great weekend, huh? Beautiful.
Yep, the deer are starting to get frisky, aren't they?
Oh, they are. They're. I tell you what, we're starting to see a lot of bucks that we didn't even know existed show up.
Yeah, they're starting to show up in the bar ditch, too, down along the back roads and even on the interstate. I was going to Houston last Saturday, a week ago today, right after the show, and I saw lots of dead deer. So they're moving.
Yeah, well, our travelers need to be very careful right now because these bucks are getting active with the cooler weather, and of course, here in another few weeks, they're going to start their rut, and that's when they lose all attention span. They got to concentrate on one thing, and that's following those does, and so they don't look for traffic. So you got to be very careful.
I heard that the rut is not just weather related. It's also because the deer can sense the amount of sunlight during the day, and as the amount of day goes away and it gets darker earlier, and there's not as much daylight, that helps trigger the deer and puts them in the rut as well.
Well, the rut's going to take place regardless, Alan, and you're exactly right. It has everything to do with the ultraviolet rays, and I don't care if you have 100-degree weather out here. Of course, deer are more active, and I think that's why people associate cold weather with getting the rut on. But those bucks are going to run those does, and what they're doing is they get those does' body heats up, so they'll they're the conception rate, and they're ready to breed when those bucks know, and they get that body heat up, so they can. So they can conceive.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about this weekend. This morning is pretty special in Texas, especially if you're a child. If you're somebody 16 or younger, the state of Texas allows the kiddos to get a week head start on the general hunting season. And hunting season is actually for kids. It starts at daylight today.
Well, that's probably one of the best things that Parks and Wildlife has done, and this was done a few years ago, to give the youngsters out here a chance to be out in the field, to have a first opportunity. Of course, it's after bow season starts, but an opportunity with a rifle to take a deer early before all the gunfire and everything starts. Next weekend. So this is a very good time to get to introduce your boy or girl to the hunting and be out in the outdoors. I mean, what a great weekend to do it. I mean, it's going to be a beautiful day to open up the season. It
sure is. I got an email a couple of days ago from a lady that brought her. This is a single mom. She brought her 12-year-old son 6 years ago to hunt with me, and she's not a hunter. He's not a hunter, but he had expressed an interest in it. And this wonderful woman, loving mom, she said, you know what? I don't know anything about it, but I at least want my son to try it, see if he likes it. They've been back every year since. They're coming back this year. Now he's 18 years old. And I just think that if we don't get them when they're young and let them experience it, we have a good chance that they'll never learn about the joy of the outdoors.
Well, you're right, and good for her for, at least being open-minded enough as a non-hunter to at least want her son to experience that. And I mean, that's what it takes, Alan, from everybody out here. It may not be your thing, but it could be your child's activity.
Well, and the quiet time that you are able to spend with your child is priceless. It's hard to describe it, but for every single person listening to this show that has spent that quiet time with someone you love, it's pretty incredible, isn't it?
Well, it is, and I tell you what, there's it gets them off of the iPads and the iPhones and the texting, and gets them out and into nature, and and it gives you an opportunity to spend. I know with my own kids and my grandkids, it gives me an opportunity to spend some one-on-one time with them.
Yes, it sure does, and there's nothing like it. I want to ask you, I know that you're a retired state trooper. Many, many years ago, you were on the force there. What's your advice for people that are driving around right now or will be in the back roads where there's a lot of deer? You see one, what's your advice?
Well, like I said, you've got to be very cognizant right now of the fact that these deer are moving, and there are more accidents that occur right now and that's what we found. Our statistics went up from about October through January or February on deer car collisions. And Alan, you wouldn't believe how many people are seriously injured each year. Forget about the fact of tearing up your car or killing this deer. It injures a lot of drivers, a lot of passengers in those vehicles each year. So you've got to be very cognizant, even out on the on the interstates. And we see, we worked deer car collisions right in the towns. So you got to be very cognizant.
Very, very careful. All right, Charlie, music's coming up. Got to take a quick break. When we come back, let's get on the topic of politics and the upcoming election. Folks, y'all stick around. I got Charlie Seal with me, and we will be back right after this. All right, I have a confession, Charlie Seal, that last week when I spoke with Marita on the show here, she did not do very much to make me feel extremely optimistic about the upcoming election, and that's why I called you a few days ago.
Well, I tell you, I guess I have a little bit different perspective of it, Alan. I've been around, a long time, and I've seen elections come and go, and polls come and go, and the one thing you can depend on the polls, they're just polls, and they don't know what's really going on in the hearts and minds of the American people. And I think the other day when you and I talked, Alan, we kind of compared this to the 1980 election with Reagan and Jimmy Carter, and they had Reagan down by 12 to 14 points, and so. And the race was actually called in favor of Reagan before the polls ever closed out on the West Coast. And I think what's happening here, Alan, is I think you're starting to see these poll numbers as we start there's a lot of early voting going on right now. In fact, in many states, it's record voting. And I think you're seeing a lot of people that don't want the controversy of saying they're going to vote for Clinton or vote for Trump. I think you're seeing them remain very quiet. But they're active at the polls.
I cannot imagine. I hear some of these polls saying that Hillary is ahead by 12 points. I don't get it. I just don't believe it.
I can tell you right now, there's only a couple of those that are out there showing her way, way out there, and most of them agree that it's going to be a tight election. I think they all do think it's going to be very tight. I think Trump thinks it's going to be tight, but he has been on message. And he's getting his message out there over the last few days. He's got another week and couple of days to keep that message going. And I think those undecided voters, those independent voters that are not taking part in these polls, I think their voices are going to be heard. And I still believe that it's going to be a landslide. That's just my prediction.
Oh, I hope you're right. And let me tell you something. If nothing else, Donald Trump has exhibited a level of enthusiasm and energy. He is like the Energizer bunny or whatever. I mean, he goes, and he will work everybody into the ground. For a 70-year-old man, I think that is just amazing.
Well, it is, and I mean, I wished I had half his energy. Because he has literally been on the go since for over a year and a half now. And, one of the interesting things I saw the other day was down in St. Augustine, Florida, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners saw that as well. He had 25,000 people in attendance at his rally there, and there was that many more that were not able to get into the rally because they cut the attendance off at that 25,000 level. Then you compare that to where Hillary was; she had 1,000 to 2,000 people. And her running mate, Tim Kaine, only had about 30 at his rally.
I saw that. That had to be so embarrassing, but the media is not going to cover that because anything that makes them look bad or weak or questionable, most of the mainstream media just ignores.
Well, it does, and he's right in one sense of the word. The media, especially the mainstream media, is in the tank. They are in the tank. For the Democratic Party, and i.e. Hillary Clinton. And any person with ounce of common sense, I mean, she's proven to be a liar, a criminal, and everything else, and has done everything that you and I'd be in prison for, but yet she has an opportunity to be in the White House. I mean, what's wrong with our American people?
You know, I hear people saying that once the election is over, the economy's going to pick back up, everybody's going to start spending money again. What do you think? I don't see it. I think the economy is bad. I mean, deer hunt sales of deer hunts are down, sporting goods sales are down, retail sales of clothing is down, the ratings on the NFL are down. I wonder if it's the election or something else. Well, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you have a people that are sitting back are waiting and watching to see what's going to happen. If she makes it into the White House, I mean, we keep electing the same people and expecting different results. You know, that's the definition of insanity. That's why I think a Trump, who is a businessman, he's not a politician. We all know that, but he loves this country, and he certainly doesn't need to run for the presidency to fulfill his life. He does it because of his love for the country, and I think that he will make some honest changes. I think those changes will be real, and I think you're going to see the people start to invest again, especially if he cuts those taxes, those corporate taxes, and puts a tariff on people who keep their goods and services overseas, shipping them back. I think you're going to the business opportunities are absolutely going to be phenomenal, and the pipelines and the oil. Domestic oil production is going to increase, and I think you're going to see good times coming, Alan.
I can't tell you how much I hope that happens. The one thing, I don't care if you hate Donald Trump, you got to know that this is who he is. Like you said, he's not a politician. He's probably not saying these bad things about minorities and people that go to church and all that in the back room. He just says it in the microphone. You know where he stands, for better, for worse. But you're right. He loves this country.
Well, he gets off message. Again, he's always been a fighter. He's a winner. Here's a man that started 500 companies. They dwell on the fact that he's gone bankrupt. He went bankrupt on 10 companies. You can't be successful at every single one, but that's a pretty good track record when 490 successful companies he started are still thriving.
Yes, it is. And I'm telling you, I think the silent majority out there is going to show up in droves, and I sure hope they do. Charlie Seal, I want you to invite everybody to become a member of the Exotic Wildlife Association. Support this show, support the EWA, and tell everybody how they can do it, please.
Alan, they can go to our website, which is myewa.org. That's myewa.org. Go on the membership button. There's several levels of membership. We offer a free membership, which is our auxiliary membership to those folks that may not own any animals or anything like that, but have an interest and a love for the wildlife, and they get a cool black buck decal with our logo on it, and also they get our access to our online magazine and all of our e-alerts that come out, and with all of our events and different regulations that are coming down the pike. So we ask people to go on that website and give us a like on our Facebook page, and we answer any and all messages.
Well, I'll tell you what, people ask me, how do you know so much? How did you learn so much? And one of my secrets is the email e-alerts that come from Charlie Seal. So I do appreciate it. Charlie, we got to jump. We got a break coming up. You have a good weekend, and don't eat too much candy on trick-or-treat night, okay?
All right, my friend. We'll see you next weekend.
All right, you take care. All right, folks, it's myewa.org, myewa.org. One more segment to go. Y'all don't go anywhere. Oh, yeah. How many outdoor shows you hear play that kind of music, folks? What do you think? Are you ready to take advantage of the free membership offer to the Exotic Wildlife Association like Charlie Seal was just mentioning? I do hope so. The EWA is a huge supporter of this show, and their entire existence depends on people standing up for property rights and fighting to protect wildlife that in many cases is it's either threatened, endangered, or even extinct in its native land. Most people don't realize it, but there are more of many species of game animals in Texas, on Texas ranches, than in the rest of the world, and that's a fact. And one reason One reason why I believe is because of the EWA. If you consider yourself a wildlife lover, even if you don't own land, if you just love wildlife, and you believe it needs to be protected, please accept this invitation to become a member of the EWA. They made it so easy. In fact, with their free, what they call auxiliary membership, you still receive so many benefits, and it won't cost you a dime. So just log on to myewa.org, click on membership. Take you about 1 minute, myewa.org. In the last little bit this morning, I need to not only thank and congratulate Gary Olson up in Minnesota for being last hour's hero, outdoor hero, and Lewis Scherer for being this hour's outdoor hero, but a special thank you to everybody listening. We do appreciate you for spending some of your weekend with us, and we hope that you learned a little bit and that we, in a small way, inspired some of you to become even more involved in protecting threatened and endangered wildlife, and maybe in becoming more involved in the conservation movement. You know, just like a beautiful garden doesn't just happen without mankind stepping in and helping out, wildlife populations cannot thrive without mankind being actively involved. From the Texas Deer Association to the Exotic Wildlife Association, the wonderful companies that support them like Lissy and Echo Feeds and Four Canyons Ranch. We appreciate you all. If you'd like to nominate somebody as an outdoor hero, and we can talk with them on the show, it's easy to do. Just call our voicemail toll-free and leave us a detailed message.
855-296-7469.
That's right. All right, next week is the general opener for rifle season here in Texas. I know we're going to have a lot of listeners. That's for sure. Until then, if you would like to hunt with us down at Great Texas Hunts this November, we still have a few openings for our November special, up to 6 animals and lodging for only $2,950. Best hunting deal I know of in Texas. The 6 animals, 1 low-fence whitetail buck of any size, up to 4 hogs, 1 turkey, and lodging, all for $2,950, but it's only for the month of November. Want to get more information? Go to greattexashunts.com. Well, it looks like that's going to just about wrap it up for another show. If you're headed outdoors, please be safe and do not go alone. So for now, this is Alan Warren reminding you that the way we spell love nowadays, well, it's the old-fashioned way. Love is spelled T-I-M-E. And the best place to spend that time with someone is together in the great outdoors. Happy Halloween weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.
Afraid of no ghosts.